like your style, dog.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Gunman killed a sixth grade student and injured 5 other people at a high school in Perry, Iowa earlier today, just as students were arriving back to school after their winter break. 4 of the injured were students and 1 was an administrator. And don't know much about the shooter, although it is reported that the shooter took their own life as law enforcement was responding to this tragedy. The news that 3 Israeli hostages were mistakenly shot and killed last month in Gaza by soldiers meant to save them outraged many in Israel, who have since demanded answers about how the army conducts itself on the battleground and safeguards civilians. A military investigation is underway, but immediately after the shootings, officials said the army's rules of engagement had been violated. American, Israeli, and Lebanese officials insist that few parties want Israel's war in Gaza to become a wider conflict that engulfs the Middle East. But the assassination of a top leader of Hamas in Lebanon on Tuesday and the deaths of scores of people in mysterious twin explosions in Iran on Wednesday threatened to bring the Middle East and the United States closer to the brink of a regional war, which the Biden administration has tried to stave off since Hamas's deadly attack against Israel on October 7th. And several associates of Jeffrey Epstein are mentioned in new documents. Released as part of a federal judge's order, the documents identify people including former presidents Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Tom Pritzker, and Prince Andrew of Britain, adding new context to the disgraced financiers' relationships over the years. Now, neither Clinton nor Trump have been accused of committing crimes, and Prince Andrew settled a lawsuit by an accuser for an undisclosed amount. Penny Pritzker, a former Obama cabinet official and current Biden appointee, long-term Democratic mega donor, has rejected calls to step down from her role at the top of Harvard's most powerful governing board. It comes a day after the resignation of University President Claudine Gay. Gay stepped down amid growing controversies over her handling of campus anti-Semitism in the wake of October 7th and attacks on her based on billionaire donors who says that she was a DEI candidate. Now, prominent civil rights activists have accused the far right of orchestrating a campaign to oust Harvard's first Black leader, and they say this campaign is motivated by racism. And prominent civil rights activists are going after Harvard because of their ouster of President Gay. Gay, who was the first Black woman to lead an Ivy League institution, resigned after a very difficult several weeks. Today, Al Sharpton and the National Action Network were outside the office of Harvard billionaire donor Bill Ackman. Sharpton and a group of other protesters were criticizing Ackman. Here are the words of Al Sharpton. If he doesn't think Black Americans belong in the C-suite, the Ivy League, or any of the hallowed halls, we'll make ourselves at home outside his office. And Trump asked the U.S. Supreme Court to keep him on Colorado's primary ballot. The former president wants to reverse a ruling from Colorado's top court last month that disqualified him over the January 6, 2021 attack. If the Supreme Court takes the case, it could settle the issue for all states. Trump is also appealing his removal from Maine's primary ballot. This is Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. Today, this is again the first week of the new year. I'm super excited to be back in 2024 and to welcome some of my trusted and regular contributors to the show. Today, Isaac Wilson, a Democratic strategist and chair of the Democratic Party of Florence County, South Carolina, is joining us, as well as Jamuary Brown. He's the former executive of the Texas Democratic Party. He's also a Democratic strategist. So glad to have Isaac and Jamuary back in the hot seats as we make sense of today's breaking news. And in hour 2, we're going to go deep, dig behind the headlines of stories. Typically, this is the hour where we go more in depth on stories. And today, the story is about criminalizing abortions, criminalizing reproductive rights, criminalizing women. And in this case, we're going to talk about an hour or two. It is a Black woman. You're going to hear this really horrific story out of Ohio, where a grand jury is now considering whether to indict, yes, I mean criminally indict, a woman who had a miscarriage of a non-viable fetus at home. You're going to hear all the details of how this woman went to the hospital, wasn't able to deliver her the fetus. The hospital didn't know what to do because of these restrictive abortion laws in Ohio. She was sent home, and she has a miscarriage, something that happens to millions and millions of women every day in this country. But what is unusual about this case, miscarriages typically don't come with indictments. But yet in Ohio, prosecutors have turned over a case to a grand jury to ask them if this woman, this 34-year-old Black woman, should be charged with, get this, abuse of a corpse. Now, experts say this is an extremely rare interpretation of Ohio state law. It's attributing, human characteristics to this fetus that this woman miscarried. Lots of debate going on in the state of Ohio that just recently enshrined abortion in its constitution. So we're going to be talking to one of the activists who was responsible for that, the passage of a bill that did enshrine abortion rights in the Ohio Constitution, and also to a law professor at one of the prominent law schools in Ohio. He's a professor at Case Western Reserve University, and he's a lawyer who litigates reproductive rights cases. Talk to this lawyer and activist about what is going on in Ohio. And is it really the case that if you have a miscarriage in that state, that not only do you have to deal with the trauma of miscarrying a fetus and all of the physical issues that may arise therefrom, but you might also suffer from some kind of indictment, an indictment that could cause you to go to jail, lose your job, and suffer other really significant consequences. So make sure you stick around for hour two. But before I bring on my guests, here's what I'm thinking in real time. The internet today has been buzzing all day. If you've not tuned in to the Shannon Sharpe show, it's called Club Shay Shay. You need to do so after you get through watching Areva Martin in real time. After 2 hours of this show, make sure you go to YouTube and check out Shannon Sharpe's Club Shay Shay, because Cat Williams was on the show and he was spilling all kinds of tea, talking about his relationship with Cedric the Entertainer, Steve Harvey, Ricky Smiley, other Black entertainers, particularly Black comics. And Cat was in a no-holds-barred interview setting the record straight about some comments that Cedric and Ricky Smiley made when they appeared on Club Shay Shay a couple of months ago. One of the clips, or some of the clips from this interview, have gotten almost 2 million, maybe by now more than 2 million views, clearly going viral. The Hollywood Reporter, a Variety magazine, and a slew of other online magazines have already picked up stories. So this is what has the internet buzzing today. It's Cat Williams setting the record straight. And one of the most kind of bombshell, jaw-dropping statements that Cat Williams made in this interview is that Harvey Weinstein, you remember him, the disgraced director, producer, Hollywood mogul, career maker who's now serving what is essentially a life sentence in jail after being accused by dozens of women of sexual assault. Cat Williams, the uber popular, uber successful comedian, says that Harvey Weinstein offered to perform oral sex on him during a meeting at Cat's agency, his talent agency. He says that, he's at his talent agency with his people And Harvey Weinstein comes in and, makes this salacious offer to him. Again, this is a pretty startling revelation by Cat Williams. He made a series of eye-opening comments, and he goes on to talk about how a number of people in Hollywood have taken what he calls shortcuts to success by giving in to the kinds of demands that he said Harvey Weinstein made on him. And we've heard these accusations about Harvey Weinstein before. We've heard them in the context of women that came forward to say that, basically Harvey told them, have sex with me or else. Have sex with me and I will make your career, or if you don't, I will break your career. Kat says he declined Harvey Weinstein's offer. He said he has never done anything like that to get any kind of competitive advantage in Hollywood. And he said that he got canceled. He said after he talked about some years ago, Harvey Weinstein, and this is before he says all of the other allegations that we now know, many of which landed Harvey Weinstein in criminal courts in multiple states. He says before, the Me Too movement, before these women came forward, when he talked about Harvey Weinstein, he was canceled. But he stood by his statement that Harvey offered to suck his penis in front of all of his people at his agency. He said he's thinking, look, I'm the only Black person. I don't know. But he said essentially it was a hard no for him. He says even today, when he walks into certain rooms, heads go down behind his back. And he says people are talking. And people are still talking because many folks know that what he alleges about Harvey Weinstein, they know it to be true. And they know that he has not taken shortcuts that he accuses some others in Hollywood of taking. Woo, like I said, he's spilling a whole lot of tea. I'm not going to tell you the whole interview, but if you want a perspective on how, the comedy world works, who writes jokes, who has the right to those jokes, who's been accused of stealing jokes, who's been accused of, doing some unsavory things in order to get ahead, make sure you check out Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay. This very long, very involved, very eye-opening interview of none other than comedian Cat Williams. When we come forward, more of today's breaking and trending news right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Here comes the brand new flavor in your head.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head. Yeah.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Follow the leader. following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, ma. House shot with a rest spot.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Bounce is back.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some...
We are back, and Isaac Wilson and Jamar Brown are here, and we are talking about all kinds of news today. It's been a busy news day, including on the internet. That Cat Williams Club Shay Shay interview has just blown the internet up. Jamar, Isaac, both of you seen it? One of you seen it?
Yeah, we've seen it. We've seen it.
Okay, so
Can't miss it.
Can't miss it. But here's one thing that's striking me about it. You notice how silent everyone is? Folks aren't like calling him out, saying he's a liar, coming to the defense of Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, nobody, I don't think, come to Harvey Weinstein's defense, but Tyler Perry, a lot of the names that he drops in this interview. Are you guys surprised by that at all?
To be quite honest, yes, because typically in our entertainment world, especially among Black entertainers, it's always a place where folks, at least in my opinion, feel like they want to defend themselves. So either they're receiving advice from their lawyers and PR agents to not speak out, or it's just downright true. And so I think those are the two either kind of lanes. I do think that over the next couple of days, couple of weeks, it'd be curious to see if any of them take not so much action in terms of going on social media live or what have you, but I do think it'd be interesting to see if any of them take any legal action, like a cease and desist or defamation suit or anything of that nature later on.
Well, Isaac, Cedric did, speak to camera on his Instagram page and, responded that he did not steal. There's an allegation that he stole one of Cat's biggest jokes. Cedric did say he had been doing that jokes years before Kings of Comedy and he did not steal it. But are you surprised how seemingly the internet has just determined that Cat Williams can speak no wrong and that he's a credible source of information and that if he's saying it, it all must be true? That seems to be the consensus that I'm getting online.
I think most people just figure that why would he come out and tell this stuff now? Everybody over the years have tried to make Cat Williams this mentally unstable person. And I think people are saying, no, he's making sense. He's telling some things and he's calling names and he has receipts. I think the biggest thing for me that was funny was that this guy said that he was 13 or 12 or 9 or something. He read 3,000 books a year from the So that was, to me, that was the funny part that he did that fallacy. But I think he's probably on par. Yeah, some things can be misconstrued, but he called some names and held them to the fire. So I don't think that they're going to have room to come back and come back from this or say too much. Even Cedric didn't even delve into that. Most of what he was saying was a lie. He just said, no, that joke wasn't, that was my joke. But he didn't say nothing about nothing else.
Yeah, so he didn't blast him either. You notice he was pretty calm. He was, maybe he did want to de-escalate it, didn't want to get into a big, internet beef. I can appreciate that from Cedric. He seemingly had a very mature response to it. But obviously, this is not the end of it. Those kind of allegations. And I don't know, let me just ask you this, Isaac. Did you not believe him about the books?
Yeah, for a 9-year-old to read 3,000 books a year.
You can do it. My daughter My daughter's done it. It's
You can do it.
Yeah, you can do
3,000 books.
Yeah, think about the kind of books you're reading at 9. You're not reading Harry Potter 1,000-page books. I mean, they literally could be like.
But he said he wasn't reading children's books. He said he was reading books, like real books. Like
no, it's doable.
It's doable if you read a few pages a day.
I have a daughter. I don't know if it's 3,000, but she read that kind of. I mean, she read at that pace. There are,
10, like obviously, there's 10 books a day. I just don't see it.
Well, obviously, he's well read, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
He definitely vocabulary.
He's well read. Yeah,
maybe it wasn't 10. My daughter probably was reading 2 or 3 books a day, though. So I do know that there are readers like that, avid readers. Maybe not 10, but definitely you could. I mean, just his thinking, his vocabulary, well above the average, bear. So no doubt.
When he speaks about God, the way that he speaks about God and connected those pieces, it just seemed like he was telling the truth about a lot of it. He just don't connect God in a way and to life like he did, and to tell his story, where he come from, and how he got the way he was. It was very, very interesting. So I don't think he'll get much pushback from it.
Well, so far he's winning. I just got a text from someone that says, I read that many books as a kid. So, I think you outnumbered, Isaac. There's a whole lot of smart kids out there. I'm going to go check my daughter. My daughter wants some kind of big-ass prize because she read so many books. So I know that there are readers out there like that. So
somebody's going to now try to set the record.
I'm going to read 4,000 books. But all right, we're going to be talking about that one for a while. Mr. Brown, you got a big visitor coming to town. Talk to us about that.
To Texas?
Oh, it's Mr. Wilson, South Carolina. Who's coming to visit? Who's coming? Somebody we should be talking about, since we're talking about, Black folks and what we're doing and positive things. So who's coming to South Carolina?
Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina on Saturday. This Saturday, next Saturday, the President of the United States will be in Charleston, South Carolina. We'll make several stops there. Kamala Harris is coming for an AME conference. We'll stop and speak to the people, and she'll visit one of the local shops there, Black-owned shops in Myrtle Beach. So it's going to be a good high time there. And then Joe Biden is coming for actual business in Charleston, and he'll stop by a couple of places as well. So a lot of people are coming. We're the first in the nation. Very big deal. South Carolina picks presidents, and we're excited about this opportunity that we have now.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because before we started the show, we were, in production, we were talking about Quentin Folks, and Quentin is the deputy director under Julie Rodriguez, right?
Yes.
Julie Chavez, I think is the name she goes by now, who is the director of the Biden-Harris campaign. And Quentin did an interview on MSNBC. And just like I was getting blown up about these books, people were blowing me up last night saying they were really disappointed. I did not see the interview, and I should go and look at it myself before I pass any judgment on it. But one of my friends that did watch it, Jamar, what she said was she called him inarticulate. She said he was so scripted that he was literally not answering the questions, and she thought the questions the interviewer was throwing as soft questions as you could throw, and he had just very talking point type answers that didn't connect. And she's thinking, is this the guy that's supposed to be out there delivering the message, particularly to young Black voters? And she says, if this is him, she's like, we are in trouble. Now, I know Quentin. We know he worked on a Warnock's campaign, very successful Senate campaign. So help us understand why that interview may have been so discordant for so many folks.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think Quentin has an extensive experience in the political space. As it relates to that particular interview, what I'll chalk some of it to is where the electorate is feeling. I mean, we are feeling a lot of things. We're at war, the economy. There are so many different issues that we see at bay right now that's happening. And I think that the electorate is just in a certain state, and they're looking for particular answers and particular solutions from the president, the vice president, in their respective campaign. The thing that I think that it's important to note about speaking to Black people, we have to remember, yes, Quentin may be the highest ranked person on the campaign, but Quentin will not and should not be the only surrogate speaking to Black communities, knowing that Black people are not a monolith, because at the end of the day, you've got to have the people that can go into barbershops, go into beauty salons, go into churches, but go into the businesses, right? Because we have business people in our communities as well. And so I think that, Quentin has the experience. I think that they also do a lot of media training, which I've participated in a lot of it. But I do also think that what's important to what Isaac just said, that we're going to hear directly this weekend and next week from the president and the vice president themselves about what is going on in the country, how they're viewing the country, and how they're viewing to navigate us through difficult times that we're facing right now. And there are three things that they're going to have to really own, right? That they will talk about Donald Trump being an existential threat. We all know that already, right? So the next steps are, where do we get to on the war, where we see clear divides across the base? And then also, how do they start talking about the economy? Because people have to really see and feel their policies. And they passed a lot of things in the last couple of years. And we did see the White House start putting some things out before the holidays as it relates to some of the economic accomplishments. But to hear from them themselves of how they're going to talk about it will also help shape in the future how campaign staff and operatives and surrogates talk about it.
I sure hope so, because let me read you this text I got. And this is yesterday after the interview. She says, who is this guy? She didn't know him. She says, if he's the guy, we are in trouble. He was downright awful on MSNBC, sticking to a really lame set of talking points that were all spin. He didn't substantively answer questions about Gaza at all. Just kept saying that the president is behaving like a commander-in-chief, which means nothing. The commentator, about as sympathetic an audience as you will get in this race, finally said, I know all of that, but can you talk about this as if the cameras aren't rolling? How are you really going to address the concerns of a large part of the base about Gaza? And she said, he just spit out the same buzz phrases. If he's a bright guy and a star, then they are wasting him if the campaign is limiting him to such a narrow, hokey script. And then she goes on to say, Areva, you better call somebody. So when we come forward, more on that interview of one of the leading surrogates for the Biden-Harris campaign. Where do we go from here? And what is it going to look like in this election year? Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Areva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Areva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Here comes the brand new flavor in your head.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 15.
Like a brand new flavor in your head.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest spot.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Bounce is back.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
There's a new sheriff in town.
All right, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and starting September 18th, I couldn't be more thrilled than invite you to join us for the launch of A More Perfect Union, weekdays right here on KBLA Talk 1580, weekdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific Time, that's 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. A More Perfect Union promises to deliver national news of consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. As KBLA Talk 1580's chief national political analyst, every day you can expect your daily dose of political news of consequence. If you're looking to be engaged, enlightened, and empowered to be a part of the solution to issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice, A More Perfect Union was designed for you. This daily political affairs show will feature notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers.
We are back, and we are joined by Isaac Wilson and Jamuary Brown. So, Isaac, you are a Democratic strategist and chair of the Democratic Party of Florence County, South Carolina. You just told us that VP Harris is on her way to South Carolina and that Joe Biden is too. And I just got an alert that he's going to give remarks at Mother Emanuel AME Church on Monday, January 8th. So I'm thinking about the poor kids who got shot today in this school in Iowa. A gunman killed a 6th grade student, injured 5 others. Joe Biden going back to Mother Emanuel. We know Black church members, congregants were gunned down by white supremacists in that church. What is the president going to say about guns and gun control and the inability of this Congress or any Congress in the recent past to do anything substantial around guns?
I don't know exactly what he's going to say, but if we all know Joe Biden, it will be heartfelt. And he will mention these school shootings, and he will mention that Republicans have failed to protect our children. all over this country when it comes to senseless gun violence. And that's why we're seeing so much chaos in our country. We need gun legislation. Republicans have to act. Republicans have to be bold about it. It's one thing to talk about that you care about our children. It's one thing to say you care about our communities, but you have done nothing to act. Just like immigration, you vote no on every piece of legislation that they bring to the floor, but you still get on the news, you still get out here in public, and you talk about how much you care about this nation and care about democracy. Well, democracy says stand up for our children right now. Democracy says stand up and put these guns down. Democracy says make something better. Democracy says stand up against the NRA. Get out of their pockets. Make your own money. The government pays you enough. They pay you enough. That's all you need. So we hope that he gets up there and talk about that and bring the message home that guns have no place. AK-47s, all of that have no place in our schools, and they definitely have no place in our communities, and we need to stop.
Well, we know Letitia James, the Attorney General for the state of New York, she's not afraid of the NRA. She has filed a lawsuit against the leader of the NRA, a lawsuit that could, be the end of his tenure. And can cause substantial damage to that organization, which, as you said, has been an obstacle in some ways, has been, has stood between good, sensible gun laws and our ability to get anything done in Congress on this issue. I thought that the president and vice president were going to your state, Jamar, but who was just in your state, Jamar? The speaker of the House and a band of Republicans down at the border for a big photo op to demand some very restrictive bill on immigration without really dealing with immigration. What do you expect to see? I mean, they did their dog and pony show in, what was it? What's the name of that town in Texas? That interesting little name where they were the other day.
Yeah, Eagle Pass.
Eagle Pass, yes. So what's going to happen? Are we going to get immigration reform now that the Republicans have seen the problem or what they consider to be the problem at the border?
Well, at the end of the day, what we say in Texas, all had no cattle, right? It's just a bunch of talk and then nothing's going to happen. At the end of the day, what we've seen with the Republicans is dangerous policies, especially at the state level. They just recently passed during the special legislative session last fall, SB 4, which opens the door to migrants being detained and criminalized in an inhumane way. And we actually just saw a report out of NPR yesterday where people are being violently detained. But this is what they want. They don't want actual law and order. They want migrants to be detained. They want to point the finger at immigrants for taking down this country and taking down communities and making people feel unsafe. That's what they want. That's why they're not moving forward meaningful legislation to actually deal with the crisis at the border. And that's why you also see the governor sending buses to Democratic cities like Philadelphia, New York, Los Angeles, and other places to only do these critical stunts. Because if Mike Johnson was serious, he would actually go work to move the funding bill forward, because there's $14 billion in the current funding bill that has not gotten a vote yet. $14 billion that would actually go toward border security and immigration reform and different things of that nature. And so if that's what the speaker wants to do, he's the speaker. And so he can move those same 64 members that stood with him at that press conference and actually go to Washington and do their job to fund support for other allies around the world, to fund support for food programs, and to fund support for security programs if they're really serious.
So, Isaac, immigration is going to be on the ballot this year, 2024. And we've seen some of these Democratic mayors, like the mayor, Brandon Johnson in Chicago, Eric Adams in New York, they are expressing, Eric Adams in particular, great deal of frustration. And they are pointing that frustration at the Biden administration, saying they're not getting enough help on issues of immigration. I know Brandon Johnson just made the executive decision to move some money that was for COVID relief out of the Chicago budget to pay for migrants that have been dropped off by states like Texas in Chicago, and African-American council members, alder persons, are at odds and are criticizing Brandon Johnson, newly elected, the mayor that had a great deal of support finds himself now at odds with his own council over this issue of these migrants that are being shipped from Florida, from Texas to Boston, Martha's Vineyard, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York. How is Biden, and Harris, who was tasked with immigration at one point, how are they going to address this issue?
It's a tough issue. And I think for this issue now, it's just provide the necessary tools and resources for these cities that they didn't ask for the people to come. So it's not really their fault. You have a governor in Jamuary State who is busting these people there. And so it's not their fault. So give them the tools and resources and the money that can be available for them to take care of the problem. And then we handle whatever we need to handle later, whether we let some apply for asylum, whether we have to ship them back to their home countries, what do we have to do then? But for right now, we need to find resources and find the money for these cities to get these people off the streets and get them in comfortable positions, because we have to treat people how we would really want to be treated. And we're a country of being about democracy, and these people want to be free from their countries because they're not being treated right, or they're not having the opportunity that they need there, and in some cases genocide and rape. Then we have to be there for them. So we know that everybody can't come, but let's get them to be safe and be good first, and then we talk about that stuff later. So give them the money that they need and the resources to take care of the issue right now.
But Jamuary, this is like the Gaza issue, where the base, particularly the progressives in the Democratic Party, want to see very humane policies around immigration. They want to see DACA. They want to see immigrants being given access to work permits and being given a pathway to citizenship. And we know that there are some more moderate Democrats who have a different approach to this immigration crisis, in the same way that we see this Gaza, issue playing out, where you have more moderate Democrats that want unfettered, uninhibited support of Israel, whereas the younger people in the Democratic Party are calling for a ceasefire. They just disrupted Sacramento, the state legislature in California, with protests calling for a ceasefire. Senators can't travel the country without being met with protesters. So you have a base, particularly progressive part of the Democratic base, that seemingly is not in support of the established and the existing administration on issues like immigration, and particularly support for Israel in this crisis. We come forward, want to talk about how will Biden and Harris, navigate these very sensitive issues now that they are hitting the campaign trail. And I was at an event with the vice president where she said she's going to be on the road this entire year leading up to the election. So we know she's going to be all over this country. And that question is going to come up over and over again, particularly the question around immigration reform and support for Israel. We'll talk about on the other side when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities and sports figures, elected leaders and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Areva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Areva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Here comes the brand new flavor in your ear.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your ear.
We boldly go where no man has gone before.
Boldly taking talk radio where it has never gone before. New vistas, new voices, new views, new visions, new victories. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we're taking public media black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out.
We are back, and in hour two, we're going to be talking about a 34-year-old African-American woman who had a miscarriage at home, and now she's facing up to 1 year in prison and criminal prosecution. This all happened in the state of Ohio. What is going on across the country, and particularly in red states like Ohio? Why are they criminalizing women? Why are they criminalizing Black women and criminalizing a miscarriage, something that happens to millions of women every day in this country? Make sure you stick around for the story of that 34-year-old woman. All right, Isaac and Jamar, let's talk about Dr. Claudine Gay. We know she's first Black woman president at Harvard University. She was ousted, i.e. resigned on Tuesday. Now, Penny Pritzker, Jewish woman, former Obama cabinet official. One of you all may have worked with her. Current Biden appointee, longtime Democratic mega donor, sister to the governor of Illinois. There were calls yesterday by some of the same billionaire donors at Harvard, some of the same right-wing activists, for Penny Pritzker to step down from her role as the chair of the Harvard Corporation. The Harvard Corporation is the most powerful governing board of the university, and it appoints the president. So she was responsible with that board for the appointment of Dr. Gay. And they're saying that she should step down over her handling of the appointment and, the whole issue surrounding Dr. Gay. I'm sitting here scratching my head because did Harvard miss something? Didn't they know when you succumb or capitulate to bullies, that bullies don't stop? They weren't going to stop at Dr. Gay. Now these same mostly Jewish white men that came for Dr. Gay are now coming for Penny Pritzker. Any surprise to you that this is the next level of their campaign?
No shocker there. None whatsoever. I just, when you see something like that happening, you got to wonder what are they digging for? What are they trying to get to? What is the ultimate goal to get rid of these people? What is getting rid of Dr. Gay going to? What is it going to solve? Getting rid of the other woman, what is it going to solve? You cannot just listen to everybody and just make these salacious moves and just think that it's just going to fly by and people are not going to get rattled by it. Al Sharpton will be outside of their office, protesting because it's wrong. And we're standing with her. We didn't give her a chance to get her thoughts together. We didn't give her a chance to really be in silence, to kind of just come out and say what it is that she needs to say. We just get rid of people. And I think it's wrong. And I think more and more of it's going to happen at Harvard if these people are leading at the top. And so we're not shocked. And again, more things like this are going to continue to happen.
Yeah, it's just puzzling to me, Jamar, that Harvard's corporation board that had previously stated they were going to stand behind Dr. Gay eventually caved in to the pressure coming from its own donors, obviously pressure coming from the right, folks like Elise Stefanik, who were stepping over themselves and over other Republicans to claim that they were responsible for the takedown of this Black woman. Where does this stop, though? Penny Pritzker, she's a Jewish woman. So, is this Jewish men against Jewish women? Is it, Jewish men against the world? We know that Bill Ackman has penned this social media post where he's the victim, where white men can't say anything unless they're canceled, where, it's racist to, have a DEI program. It's racist to disagree with Black folks. These are all of his, ridiculous allegations. But where does this go?
Yeah, well, I think there's two things that are at play here. There's money, right? Money talks. And then there's raw power, right? And I think that these two things are at play. And a lot of the men who came out against the president, who came out against Chair Pritzker, they're white men before they're Jewish. And so you have to really acknowledge that and really see that. And when women or people of color, in this particular case, a Black woman, take over institutions such as the Harvard Corporation or the university as a whole, this is not just a Harvard issue. This could be any Fortune 500 company. It can be any college or university, quite frankly, outside of HBCUs, where we see a lot of these things, particularly at play. And I think that what ended up happening with that board is we'll stand behind you until you impact our money. Mm-hmm. And if you impact our money, you've got to go. And it wasn't about her credentials. It wasn't about her plans for Harvard University. It wasn't about all of that because, right, she was only there a few months, right? So we didn't get to see the full manifestation of the plans and the ideas and what President Gay was going to bring to the campus and to the institution as a whole. And so those are things that we've got to still fight. Those are things that we still got to consider. And to the folks that say she's too woke or we don't need DEI programs, this is exactly why we need DEI programs. Because you're not just dealing with individuals, you're actually dealing with institutions. And you need the DEI framework and approach and resources because you're combating racism that has been built within these institutions. And this example with Harvard University president is exactly why we need these programs, but it's also exactly why the Republicans are banning it, because they don't have to deal with the actual issues that they've used to lever power over people.
Well, these DEI detractors are feeling really emboldened. Isaac, Bill Ackman, one of Gay's most tenacious critics, wrote this, as I said, lengthy social media post. Then he went on to write a lengthy essay for the Free Press. And he's quoted as saying, DEI is inherently a racist and illegal movement that effectively discriminates against white people. Such policies, he writes, should be wiped out of decision-making at Harvard and everywhere else. He goes on, similar comments. Elon Musk gets in it and says that the basis of DEI was literally the definition of racism. So you have the piling on of billionaires. Now, Mark Cuban jumped in it, billionaire entrepreneur, challenged Musk in a series of posts on X, formerly Twitter, defending DEI as being good for business. Now, we know ultimately these critics want to see DEI challenged in the same way that we saw affirmative action in college admissions challenge. So Al Sharpton is out in front of Bill Ackman's office today with a group protesting. But what is it going to take? I mean, great. Thank you, Al Sharpton, for doing that, for taking it to the streets, because sometimes that needs to happen. But beyond that kind of in-your-face protest, what are you feeling, Isaac, is where we go from here to try to save DEI? We weren't able to save affirmative action in college admissions.
I really just don't see the problem of treating everybody fair and letting all people participate. I think it is that they're just going back in time to say, hey, there's too many Black people being recognized, too many Black people in powerful positions. I don't know what we do, but we stand up against it every single time that they try to destroy it. I think we do that. We don't sit idly by and just allow them to destroy that. So every single time we can fight against it, we fight against it. Every single time we can speak out against it, we speak out against it. And when we can support somebody like a President Gay, we need to do that, and we need to show our strength in numbers. Everything's not about, marching in the streets and all that good stuff. We got people for that, like Al Sharpton, thank you. But we got to get to the boardrooms and we got to get to the tables in order to talk about this stuff too, and talk about those solutions and saying that we're here to stay and we're not going anywhere. And maybe that helps, but it takes our young folk too. We can't have people like Al Sharpton and them that are still fighting those battles. We need to start fighting some of those battles as young folk and doing what he's doing as well.
So, Jamar, you are a Democratic strategist. What do you say to Kamala Harris? You know, she's going to get asked a million questions about Claudine Gay on the campaign trail. What's the talking points that you expect or want to hear from the VP and then the president on this issue?
I want to hear from them, and I think voters are going to want to hear from them. How are they combating systemic racism, and what does that mean in various institutions? Right? They talk a lot about it in government. Obviously, the vice president was an attorney general, the second largest justice department in the country, and she talks a lot about some of the programs that she built, during her time as attorney general before she was a U.S. senator. And what people are going to want to see is, how are you all at the federal level going to protect leaders of institutions, right, that look like the electorate that you're wanting to turn out to vote for you? Because
let me stop you right there, Jamar. The narrative that white men like Bill Ackman, they're pushing a narrative that to support DEI is inherently racist. So what do you say to those white voters that may be listening to Bill Ackman, who may consider themselves liberal, but that sounds good to them? Yeah, DEI is racist, and if my company gets rid of DEI, maybe I'll be, in position for that next promotion. I am mad at the Black person that got the job because that was my job. So keep in mind, they're going to have to be speaking to that part of the base as well that is going to be and has already latched on to some of these false narratives that are being pushed by the Elon Musk and Bill Ackmans of the world. Give me an answer in 20 seconds.
Well, absolutely. But at the end of the day, there got to be an administration that has opportunity for all people. And they've got to make sure that they continue to stress that, even to people who feel like those opportunities belong to them. They've got to also have a holistic approach to understand that opportunities should be available to all people, and you earn those opportunities.
Yeah, this is a tightrope, because when you start talking about words like earn and, merit, it starts to advance that false narrative that somehow we are a meritocracy. And Black folks in this moment are going to want to hear the president and vice president say, categorically that they stand behind DEI programs and leveling the playing field and addressing issues of systemic racism and pushing back on this completely false narrative that somehow DEI is inherently racist. We are out of time. Obviously, lots that's going to happen on the campaign trail. We'll be talking with both of you as this campaign starts to heat up. This is election year. When we come forward, more on a 34-year-old Black woman who is facing a year in jail because she had a miscarriage. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
There's a new sheriff in town.
All right, I'm Dr. Cordeline Corte, and starting September 18th, I couldn't be more thrilled than invite you to join us for the launch of A More Perfect Union. Weekdays right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Weekdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific time. That's 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern. A More Perfect Union promises to deliver national news of consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. As KBLA Talk 1580's chief national political analyst,